You are listening to the Oh Crap Potty Training Podcast. I am your host, Jamie Glowacki. I am the author of Oh Crap Potty Training and Oh Crap, I Have a Toddler. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about the pitfalls of summer potty training. So most people, a large percentage of the population potty train during the summer. And it's a very funny thing, when Oh Crap Potty Training was a PDF off my website from 2009. And it sold really well. And believe it or not, you guys may not even remember this, but this was before Kindles. This was before ebooks. So it was a book, but it was like a PDF off your website. And when a literary agent contacted me and told me my book was the talk of the town in New York City. And so I signed with an agency, and that was in 2014. And the major publishing houses got into a bidding war for it. And so there's 5 major publishing houses. And, I met with every publisher to talk about, what their publishing house would offer me. And what happens back in those days when you have a self-published PDF or a self-published ebook, with a lot of people do now, and a publishing house wants to buy it, the book has to go dark for a set amount of time. And that means it's not available to anybody while it's being published and they're drumming up their publicity for the book. And so, people don't really understand publishing. What's interesting about publishing is, like, this book is actually not even mine anymore. They could do whatever they wanted with it. It behooves them to have me stay in front of it, right? Because I do podcasts, I do YouTube, I do Instagram reels and blog posts. And so it behooves them to not mess with it, but they could if they wanted to. They could put anything in the book that they wanted to. And, so all the publishing houses were like, well, it has to go dark. And the timing was, I had signed with the agency in February, and the timing was that the book would probably have to go dark at, during June, July, and August. And I was like, no, it just can't, and it actually ruled out some of the publishing houses because they were like, no, that's when it's going to go dark. And I was like, this is like my retail Christmas. I don't care if it's an ebook. I don't care if you get it published really fast, but it can't go dark in those months. And they were totally bewildered. And I just kept telling them, like, do you want to potty train in a snowsuit, or do you want to potty train in a bathing suit? Like, it makes sense that people want to potty train in the summer. And they were like, oh, that makes sense, And now I think there are a lot of benefits to potty training in the winter. And I know there's large percentage of the world that doesn't experience hard winters. But I would say, again, most people do potty train in the summer because it's easier, right? There's less clothes to deal with. It's easier to have your kid go naked, and there's, the kid's outside a lot. And so generally speaking, more people choose to do it. They have more time off in the summer, or their older kids have time off. So I recognize that it is very popular to potty train in the summer, but there are some pitfalls. So let's go through those today so you can be prepared. One of the biggest pitfalls I will say that happens is travel plans. So whenever I meet with private clients, and it's during the summer, and I'm like, okay, we need to carve out a week so that we can really work on this, and preferably a couple of weeks if your child's struggling. If you're coming to me, your child is probably struggling in some way, shape, or form. And the parents are like, okay, great. Yes, but we're going to, my mother's beach house for 3 weeks. Then we're spending a month in Croatia. And then we're, doing this or doing that. Or, parents are just working straight through the summer, and the child has to be in daycare, and they have limited time that they can get off. And so the chunks of time are not always aligned with summer, right? And especially travel plans. And so if you're planning on potty training in the summer and you have extensive plans, you have to find a couple of weeks, particularly if you are going overseas or cross country. A week of potty training, your child's not going to be ready to get on a plane without a diaper. They're just not. And then you're going to be in hotels or Airbnbs, and you're not going to want accidents. And so you're just going to end up probably re-diapering the child anyway. So if you can't carve out that time, it may not be the best time for you to potty train. I will say that you should give yourself a lot of time, like 2 weeks at the most. I don't know where the 3-day, well, I do know where the 3-day potty training things came out, but it doesn't work for a lot of parents. most kids buck against the pressure that's put on a kid to potty train in 3 days. And unfortunately, what happens is parents, they go on Amazon, they see the 3-day potty training method, and they're like, oh, that's great. That fits in perfectly with our busy schedule. But it doesn't, because a kid after 3 days, I have never met a kid who after 3 days of potty training is ready to do a cross-Atlantic or a cross-country flight or travel. The things that come with travel plans, maybe it's Disney, maybe it's excitement, maybe it's just a lot more tourism, and you're out and about and you don't have access to bathrooms, that every hour or so. And so just be aware of that. I'm not telling you can't do it, but it's really something to be aware of if your child's in the potty training age range, to find some time where you can really solidify this skill. And I once worked with a client, their summer was so busy, and they bumped right into they were coming home from an overseas flight on a Sunday night at midnight, and the child was going back to daycare on Tuesday morning. And they built in Monday as a buffer, which good thinking, but that's not enough buffer for time zones to get back into the swing of things. So really, calculate that well. Our kids are resilient, but we've got to factor in jet lag, again, changing time zones, routines being off. Maybe they co-slept with you and you want them back in their bed. There's all kinds of things that can go wonky with travel plans. The next pitfall of summer potty training is pool beach days. So I know it gets hot, especially in the South here in America. It gets very hot and muggy in New England as well. It's, and you might have belonged to a community pool or a private pool or be near the beach. And then what happens is the child is in a swim diaper all day long. And they might be peeing in the ocean, which everybody does. They might be peeing in the pool, which every kid does. But you're not going to have a handle on their signals. And so you're not really potty training. If your child is going to be in a swim diaper from the morning till the evening because you're at the pool or the beach, it's not great to potty train because they're going to be spending more time in a diaper. And a lot of times lifeguards or pools will demand a swim diaper, even if the kid is potty trained. If they look a certain size or age, they're going to demand a swim diaper no matter what. And so just be cautious of that, especially your first week. And I know parents will be like, oh, it's so hot, we got to get out. If you live in a really hot place, I'm sure you have AC, and you have to kind of hole up because, again, I don't care that the kids are peeing in the pool. I don't care that they're peeing in the ocean, but the problem is they're not potty training, right? That's not the idea of potty training is getting the pee in a designated spot. So be cautious of that, and just know, especially your first week or so, you should really stick close to home and not do extensive long beach days. Same thing happens even in the backyard with a water table or a kiddie pool. Is the kid could be dripping wet and you're not noticing that they're peeing. So they're just peeing themselves. And again, not potty training. A couple of side notes. I just learned this because when Pascal was little, swim diapers were, I guess they were around, but they were kind of rare and they were kind of expensive. But swim diapers don't contain the pee. Right? There's no absorbency. They're just meant to contain poop so you don't get a code brown and everybody out of the pool. But they don't contain pee. So just be wary of that. I see it all the time on Instagram. And I know a large amount of parents just don't even realize this. A large amount too, though, which is how I learned it. But beware of that, because if you put them in their swim diaper in the car seat and they pee, it's not containing, it has no absorbency to it. And then the other thing about going to the beach or to the pool. Mostly I see this at the beach, and it cracks me up. The first early days of going to the beach in the summer here in New England is hilarious because there's always a kid who goes down to the edge of the water, pulls down his pants or her pants, her bathing suit, and they just pee in the water. And you just know the mom said you can go pee in the ocean. And instead of going a little deeper where nobody can tell you're peeing, they'll just go right to the edge of the water and pee in the water. And it just always cracks me up because I'm I know exactly what that mom told them to do. Another pitfall of summer potty training is too many fluids. And I find this, I've talked about this a lot before. I find this in general that we know water is great, right? We know drinking water is great, and we have gone overboard. So kids need a liter of fluid, and that includes water content from food. Now, naturally in the summer, if they're going to be outside playing, they're going to get hot, sweaty. Yes, they will need a little bit more water. But I actually had a client say that her pediatrician told her that there is no such thing as too much water, which is a blatant lie. There is actually, you can die from drinking too much water. The biggest thing that I'm concerned with kids drinking too much water is not so much, extreme things like death, but what can happen is they're draining their electrolytes. Electrolytes are super important to all of us, and you may be aware of them as an adult because you work out or you're athletic, and so you are up on your electrolytes. Like I have to constantly stay up on my electrolytes because I work out so much. But with kids, what happens is you flush out your electrolytes. And what happens is without magnesium, pooping becomes difficult. Constipation and withholding can result from that. Potassium gets drained out, and that's going to result in restless legs and leg cramps. So a lot of times parents think it's growing pains that their kids are experiencing at night, very painful leg cramps, and it's just a drop in potassium and magnesium. And then sodium, low on sodium can make you super duper anxious. And we do have a high amount of anxiety in our kids these days. So we definitely don't want to add to that. And so be really cautious of that, not overhydrating and pushing water like constantly. And one of the things is sippy cups. I just don't like sippy cups at all. I don't, even the 360s, even the ones with a straw. The thing with a sippy cup is it's designed to not make a mess, which sounds lovely, but there's no cause and effect. So it's a developmental milestone to be able to drink out of an open cup. And you can start with an open cup at 6 months old. They have tiny little silicone ones, and it's unbelievable skill building. When a kid can take a drink out of something that they can just toss around in their arms and there's no cause and effect of it spilling, they're not gaining a vital skill. The other thing with sippy cups, the kind that have almost like a nipple, it's not a nipple, but you know what I mean. It's like a squishy top. Those can act as an interactive pacifier, and the kids can drink more than they need because they're sucking on it. They're using it as like a pacifier that takes in liquid, so they can take in more liquid than they need. And this results in, like, if your kid is like, seems to be drinking and peeing right out, you're giving them too many liquids. And so I just think that in summertime, we tend to push, but be really careful about pushing water all the time, because again, we don't want to drain those electrolytes. The next pitfall for summer potty training is too many liquid foods that we don't account for in their liquid intake. So popsicles are, they're such a fun part of summer, but they're liquid. Yeah, that counts as a liquid. And so make sure you know, like, okay, the popsicle is whatever, 2 ounces, like you got to factor that into the liquid intake. And then a lot of diuretic fruits, right? Watermelon and grapes. Who doesn't love watermelon in the summer? But it is a diuretic, and so are grapes. Now, grapes are high in potassium, so they're a great thing to like replace that potassium, but you don't want to go overboard because they're a diuretic. They actually create more pee than the fluid you take in, right? They drain everything. And so a lot of times too, especially at night, especially if you're attempting night training, if I have more than a cup of chopped watermelon, I will be peeing all day and all night. And if I have it in the evening, I'm not even sleeping. I'm up peeing all night. And so be cautious of those diuretic fruits. Number one, they're going to create more accidents. But again, we just don't want your kid, like, people will use watermelon and grapes as a diuretic for like water retention, right? But we don't want to be draining those electrolytes again. And you don't want your kid peeing all day long. It's just going to be really hard to get a handle on it. And they're going to be peeing their pants everywhere. Okay. Another pitfall is potty training outside. So I know that potty training outside sounds like a great idea, right? If there's an accident, it's in the grass. If they are just learning, it's better. The problem with outside is it's a lot easier to be distracted, you as a parent, but also the child. It's a lot easier to be distracted and not learn your signals. So potty training, the first couple of days should be really boring because you can't be distracted as a parent. You've got to keep your eye on that kid and look for those signs, look for that pee pattern. If they're outside and just peeing on the grass, we tend to be a little bit more lackadaisical because there's not a higher stake. If they're peeing on your floor, you're going to keep a keener eye, right? Then if you're outside and maybe you got other kids, you're watching things, like you're just going to be like not as focused. So be cautious of that. For the first few days, I really would try to stay in the house and contained. The other thing is a lot of, this is a problem that just happened in like the last 2 years, is like kids will be just peeing outside. So you have to make sure I bring the potty chair outside, in the early days and really get them to pee in the potty, because especially if you live in some place like seasonal, like New England, you're going to hit winter and these kids are only peeing outside. Like they only want to pee outside without a potty. And that's not really potty trained, right? So it seems like it's a really great idea, but then you kind of get screwed. And I've heard from at least like maybe 20 parents that now they're stuck and their kid will only pee outside. And in which case you have to lock yourself in the house. You can't go outside and you have to really attend to potty training, because it's not just about not peeing in a diaper. It's about where that pee lands. So be cautious of that. On that note, if you have a pool or you have a good backyard with, playhouses, swing sets, whatever, most parents establish a pee tree, a pee corner, or a pee bush, so that like all the kids, if the kids are playing, they don't have to track the water back into the house or whatever. They have a designated place for kids to pee outside. So I would get that in effect too, if you do have a backyard and, some sort of, enclosure or corner or bush or tree or something like that, right? So that your house doesn't get trashed all in and out, and it's just easier. So those are the pitfalls that you want to watch out for. Summer is a great time. I don't want to bust anybody's summer plans, but a lot of times potty training, the biggest thing that goes wrong is it's just a major inconvenience in your life. And it's why people wait till their kids are 5. It's why people put it off. It's why every year I have to give a warning. I give it now mid-July, because parents think to potty train the week before a kid goes to pre-K, and they have to be fully potty trained, wiping their own butt, telling the teacher themselves. It gets rough and pressure if you wait till the last minute, or you only give yourself a couple of days and then you're traveling, and it's not going to gel with your child, right? It's not going to solidify, and you'll find yourself in a hard spot. And I know a lot of parents are going into this like they've paid for preschool or private preschool. Preschools are expensive, man. And they got their kids in and now they have to potty train, but they wait too long. They put pressure on the child, and putting pressure on the kid is the number one reason potty training fails. Your kid will sense that. Your kid will dig in their heels and it will get ugly. So please give yourself time. And I know it sucks, but it's one summer. It's a couple weeks out of one summer, and then you're done. And then you have many summers to enjoy. And, likewise, if you do feel like, okay, this summer's too busy, can't do it, and you don't need to be potty trained fully for, a school situation in September, consider potty training over, Thanksgiving break or Christmas break. I know a lot of parents do that because they're not doing too much anyway. Your kids are little, it's not like you have grand plans, or well, you might have grand plans, but a lot of people just lay low. So you do have to attend to this at some point in time. It doesn't matter how old your child is. Even if you wait and extend it, I get 5, 6-year-olds now who still aren't potty trained. Even if that happens, that you're still going to have to attend to it. And so attend to it now while, plans are maybe at a minimal because your kids are little, and allow for enough time. It's the most important thing. And I just feel like, I know parents are just working their tails off because the economy sucks and inflation and it's brutal, but it's really worth it to take the time and solidify this skill with your child. All right. On that note, I'm going to log off. as always, I appreciate you and I appreciate you listening. And I wanted to tell you guys, so I have my new pooping solutions course. I redid all the videos. It's so killer. I love it. It's awesome. But we also have a poop group now, and that is a community on my own private site, not social media, although it functions like a Facebook group. And it's available to anybody who's taken my pooping solutions course in the past or taking it currently. And so it's awesome. I will be in there, answering. It won't be one-on-one help. It's not like consulting, but I will gather the questions. I'll answer them via video, and we'll be doing live calls throughout the month. And it's just going to be awesome. And so I'll drop that information in the show notes, as well as the pooping solutions course. All right. Have a great day and rock on.